Everything you're going to need to know this weekend about the defensive tackles in the NFL Draft coming right up on Locked On Vikings.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast, where we're always trying to learn something new. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day every single day. I appreciate you all so very much. My hashtag everydayers. You guys make this thing go round. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Today on the show, I have two things that I want to get across to you before the draft starts. And we have two shows, so it's perfect. Today, we are going to talk about the defensive tackle class. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the cornerback class, okay? Or the defensive backs in general. It is pretty likely that the Vikings go defense with their first pick in this draft. D-tackle, safety, corner, a lot more options there. There are a couple of guards they could go with that we talked about yesterday as part of Town Hall Tuesdays. You can check that out if you're like super into guard. A couple of very interesting options, very much into that idea. But if you want a defensive tackle, which is one of the most popular suggestions for the Vikings, and you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't they just sign two D tackles? Both those guys are over 30. They're both coming off injuries. So there is like both sort of a thirst for depth, but also for a succession plan for those guys. And the draft is where you address needs you're going to have in 2 years, not necessarily needs that you have right now. So even if you don't think that the Vikings should draft a D tackle, there's enough of a chance that they're going to that you should probably get to know the class. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give you my rankings of the D tackles that I've watched. Far from comprehensive. If I don't mention them here, that just means I haven't gotten around to them. Not that I hate the guy or anything like that, but just that I don't know. And if the Vikings do end up picking somebody that is not on either of the lists that I tell you today or tomorrow, we'll get to that next week. Or the week after. We got all the time in the world, and I can go catch up. But as it stands, the two D tackles you have to know, you have to know on Thursday night are the two Michigan guys. Both of the tackles for me that are 1 and 2 in this class, at least of the guys I watched, are Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. They are two very different roles. Kenneth Grant played more of the big guy, not just the run stuffer, but for him, he ends up as the number 1 for me in this class. And this is one of those times I've talked about all week where I deviate really hard from consensus. Mason Graham is a blue chipper by consensus. He is a guy, he could go 7th overall. Like he is very much the premier guy in this class. I prefer Kenneth Grant. And the reason is because Kenneth Grant is a little bit more balanced of a player to me. So he's huge. He probably played at like 350. That dude is a massive, massive human being. He cut it down to like 330 for all of his combine weigh-ins. So everything, if you look up his weight, is all going to be listed at a much more normal 330. I think he was bigger than that when he played, but the thing is, he didn't look slow. In fact, he looked quick, polished with his hands, great footwork. And actually could, chase a guy down across the field and be mobile. They actually had him drop into coverage once. That was a wild thing that I don't think is like a skill set that translates, but it just shows you how much they trusted his movement. That guy does not move like he's 340. And if he did shed 10 pounds, maybe he gets a little even faster, and then that's cool. But I honestly, if that 10 pounds comes back up and he just wanted the number to look a little more normal for the combine for his draft stock, and he comes right back up to 340 and plays at the speed he played last year, holy moly, I am into that. Kenneth Grant is maybe my favorite possibility in this draft class for the Vikings. He's also pretty pie in the sky. It would be fairly shocking if Kenneth Grant were available at 24. It would even be more insane for Mason Graham to be available at 24. Another very highly touted prospect. So Mason Graham, if Kenneth Grant was the do-it-all nose tackle, Mason Graham was the designated pass rushing defensive tackle, like the 3-tech, the Sheldon Richardson. I don't want to get it twisted. He is not a DPR in the sense that like Omar Norman-Lott for Tennessee was a designated pass rusher, third and longs only kind of guy, and we'll get to him. But Mason Graham's job was very much to get the one-on-one while Kenneth Grant took on the double, to go eviscerate that matchup and to wreak havoc. And wreak havoc he did. Great penetrator, absolutely has the balance that you want from that kind of position. And the only thing that's different for me with Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, and the reason that I put Grant above Mason Graham, is because I like Grant better versus double teams. That's kind of it. And I think that the difference between Graham in the pass rush and Grant in the pass rush is lesser. Both those guys are good. I like them both in the pass rush. I'm happy with them both in the pass rush. I'm not so happy with Mason Graham against a double team. I think that you can kind of get up under him. You can get a hand on his hip and move him a little bit too much for my liking. But it's such a nitpick that I don't think it would be reasonable for me to say he's like not a first rounder or anything like that, right? I'm just taking a little more issue with like the blue chip nature that people talk about him with. But that's my hot take, okay? You can come on that island with me, or you can go with everybody else and their mother who says that Mason Graham should probably go top 10, Kenneth Grant should probably go top 20, and that neither of these guys are actually in focus for the Vikings. But what they're going to do is take two teams in the D tackle market out of the D tackle market and then let the Vikings go do their thing. After those two guys, I have in my board a tier that is made for if they trade down, right? From kind of pick 24 to pick like 40. Who are the guys that I would like there? If they get if they end up with pick 35, like who do we want, right? And I have 4 different defensive tackles that I would be thrilled with at those spots, but would kind of feel like it's a reach if they just stuck and picked them at 24. There are probably a couple of names that you're like, why haven't I heard that yet? But really the only 2 guys that I would be really happy with if the Vikings stayed and selected them in the first round at where they pick, or maybe even higher, are Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Only the Michigan guys for me. Everybody else has just like one too many flaws, or is just not quite as explosive or high potential enough a player for me to feel like they're worth just a straight up first round pick. And context has a lot to do with this for me too. I think if the Vikings had all their picks, I would feel a little bit more comfortable with some of these, somebody like Alfred Collins or Derek Harmon. But the issues that those guys present as it stands make them a little bit harder to like project forward as the savior of the class. Remember the way I talked about this on Monday, these guys need to carry the class. If the Vikings don't end up getting a whole bunch of other picks and they do stick and pick at 24, that guy is going to define this draft class unless the Vikings start trading future picks to get more now. But there's a lot of reasons not to like that idea. But like, look, if they walk out of this draft with 4 rookies, that first rounder, if he is good, we will not care that they had like less depth coming out of the class. And if he is not good, it's going to sting that much more. Like there's so much riding on that one guy that I think it does kind of change the context for me as for the Vikings at 24. And when I construct these like draft boards, they're always focused on the Vikings and their own situation and their scheme fits and stuff. So sometimes I'll put guys down to the 3rd round because they're not scheme fits, even though I know they're going to be first round picks. That's not really necessarily what's going on here. But the context is probably making me a little bit more choosy than I normally would be. And I feel okay that that's leaking into my board a little bit. I think that's an appropriate assessment of events. But I'll get to those 4 guys as well as all the day 3 dudes coming up on Locked On Vikings. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And it is draft season, which means there's all kinds of specials actually working with the Ringer. They have, for example, an exact top 4 order. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. You can take that at plus 1,900 if you want to, or you can do something like the Shedeur free fall. Shedeur Sanders to be drafted 15th overall or later, which is currently minus 310. People are hammering that thing if you trust the betting markets to be predictive. Or if you don't, you can always throw together some NFL draft stuff. If you think Shedeur Sanders is going to go above that stuff, you can, for example, take Shedeur Sanders to be the number 3 overall pick at plus 700 if you think that that's going to happen and that's the value. Whatever it is, you can find it at FanDuel.com, or of course you can go gamble on basketball or hockey playoffs, 3-point parlays, live game, same game parlays in the middle of a game, whatever it is. And when you join FanDuel, you can place your first $5 bet and you can get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Moving right along here with the Locked On Vikings podcast. It is D-tackle season. I have spent by far the most time on D-tackle this year, not only on scouting the guys, but on trying to better understand the position. This is the position that I chose as kind of my focus this year, which means I got a lot of names. So let's get into them. The second rounders, we'll call it. If they trade back guys, right? Trade back 3 or 4 spots, get me an extra pick, and then I feel really good about this guy. And even if you go all the way back to 35 or 36 and one of these guys is on the board, I'm going to feel great about it. I got a couple of pretty hot takes in here for guys for totally different reasons. But within this tier, these rankings are loose. I see all these guys as kind of a cluster. But among that cluster, if they were all on the board, my preferred player would be Alfred Collins out of Texas. He is a very pure run stuffer to me. He is like a nose tackle. That is excellent against a double team, excellent at like splitting it, excellent at holding his ground, at shedding a block when he's supposed to. There's this ungodly rep versus Georgia you probably have seen if you've been on social media a lot, where he does a push-pull, right? You get your hands kind of up into someone's lapel, you push them to get them off balance, and you pull them down. And he push-pulls a guy so bad he goes totally ass over tea kettle and like goes and gets the run stop. It is awesome rep. I like this guy a lot. And I think that he is a very like prototypical defensive tackle. The reason I don't have him at the 24 range is because he just doesn't quite do enough in the pass rush. And that is like specifically the sore spot with the Vikings, that they didn't get enough out of their interior pass rush in their losses this year. They lost 4 games all year, 2 to the same 2 teams. And in all of those games, they just could not get pass rush up the middle. And I don't think Alfred Collins like helps you with that very much. But this dude is a good player that's going to be a starter for someone like right out the box. I think he absolutely has that potential to be like a week 1 starter, assuming the like rookie transition stuff goes well. I think that player is a very easy and safe evaluation. The next guy I have in this is Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, who I actually really waffled a lot about whether I would have him take him or Alfred Collins, like when posed that question. So again, super loose tiers. I ended up going with Alfred Collins just based off of the safety of the whole thing. But like you made one good point and I'm so flipping that. Like I'm so close. I don't know. But with Tyleik Williams, his thing to me is he's a little bit of like a diet Kenneth Grant. He's not quite as big as Kenneth Grant. He's listed at 327, and I don't know if that's like, if anything, that's an overestimation, like, or he has gained weight since his playing time to similarly try to hit that prototypical 330. But he moves real quick. And I love the way he moves, and that makes him actually a really, really good fit for Flores in particular. I would really have your eye on this guy if the Vikings do trade down and they're picking out like 35. Tyleik Williams is absolutely a name to have a keen eye on because of how he fits those things. He's got a great lateral step. So when you first line up, you first do your stance, right? Most of the time you're stepping forward. You're trying to get to the quarterback, you're exploding, you're trying to get in a line, whatever. But a lot of times if you're slanting, if you're stunting, if you're doing something, you want to take that step laterally, cross the face of a guard or defeat a reach block, right? Deny a reach block. I think he's great at that stuff. And I like the way he moves. He's another one that, like, for how quick he is, I wish I got a little more in the pass, which is why he's down here. But it's a little bit of like choose your taste, right? Whatever style of guy you like in this range, you've got your guy. Tyleik Williams, a little quicker. Alfred Collins, a little stronger. CJ West is my next guy in this. This is one where I am way off of consensus. He is by consensus. I think he's not even top 100, but I just disagree with that. I think he rules really hard as sort of take the package I just described with Alfred Collins, but super min-max it. He is awesome against the run. His hips are constantly square. I talked about why he's kind of my draft crush. This is like my hashtag my guy here. So I don't care that I'm totally off of consensus. Everybody else can be in their normal place. I am choosing to be like way out on this, way up on this guy because I'm so high on the way that he plays. There's a very natural athleticism to all the things he can do with his upper body, both in movement and in strength, without committing his hips to that. And that allows him to play things a lot riskier and be a lot more aggressive about things because his hips are constantly square. That means he is always going to be ready to react to wherever the running back goes. And he can do all kinds of, he can really park himself wherever he wants and be really reactive. And that's just such a pain in the ass for offenses. But similar to Alfred Collins, you're getting basically nothing in the pass rush, which is why, again, he's not going to be at like the pick 24 range for me, right? Like that's the thing stopping me from doing that is that you're getting very, very little in the pass rush. And then there's Derek Harmon. You might be shocked to find me put Derek Harmon 6th among D tackles, but I remind you 2 things. 1, I am not beholden to consensus. I'm going to be different than them sometimes. 2, among the 4 guys I just named, if you wanted to put Derek Harmon at the top of this list and say, I actually have Alfred Collins last on it, I'm not going to argue with you. The ordering within this tier is just going to be kind of loose, but this is a different kind of guy. If you want your zone slasher, that is Derek Harmon. He is your, get skinny, get your shoulders, turn to the side, dip underneath someone, and then square back up, stack back up when you get through the gap. Derek Harmon, that is his fastball. I did an entire show on Derek Harmon and a Patreon video at patreon.com/LukeBrownNFL because Derek Harmon to the Vikings is an extraordinarily likely thing. He's somebody they've met with a ton that they're clearly very interested in, and they absolutely could take at 24. For me, I would prefer a trade back and then take Derek Harmon, but Derek Harmon at 24, absolutely in the cards. The Vikings might be really high on him, so you should probably learn about him. Go watch my video. But the broad strokes is that he is a zone slasher. That lateral step, really, really good at it. Really good at cutting through the, through like kind of one gap stuff. Never trust him to 2 gap. He's okay against doubles. And in the pass rush, I think he has a lot of success with like swim moves and stuff against bad O-lines. And he's opportunistic when O-lines across from him bust, which happened a lot against Oregon. So he got all these penetration reps where he would get into the backfield and then like not be able to chase down the quarterback or whatever. And everybody talks about those, but those reps don't really inform me at all on Derek Harmon. You got in for free because the O-line busted the protection or the running back screwed up, or because, the guard overset and you got an easy win, right? So there's this, he's very punishing of mistakes, and that's good. That is a real trait that absolutely goes in the positive column for him. But you're going to be kind of left searching for like a diversity of pass rush wins. There's not he's not the kind of guy that can beat you a million different ways. He can beat you really well in 1 or 2 ways. He's a little bit narrower like that. And I would like to expand his skill set when he gets into the NFL, which to me is assembly required. And you might as well call that rawness. So I'm a little less high on him than everybody else, but don't get it twisted at all. Okay. Pick him at 28 and I'm plenty happy. It's fine. But I would love to get a trade down if the Vikings can. We've had a ton of conversations about that, by the way, over the last couple weeks, including some with Tyler Forness. If you go listen to last Friday's episode, Forno Friday, we talked about the process of trying to get a trade down, the trade chart that Kwesi likely uses and what we know about it so far. So if you're looking at like that kind of thing, that exists here as well. We've been doing this for 2 months. Okay, we've covered like everything. So whatever topic you want, there's probably a Locked On Vikings for it. And if you want DTs in day 3, well, guess what? This is the Locked On Vikings for it. So that'll be next on this episode of Locked On Vikings. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that thing's also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into like a gaming entertainment hub just by connecting a controller and signing in to your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play. You can play EA Sports College Football, Call of Duty, whatever online game you want to do right there on your Fire Stick, which is super clutch because if you're like going to bring your console over to a friend's house, you got to lug the whole thing around. It's like awkward, right? You got to like hook it all up. No, the Fire Stick is so much easier. You can just plug it right in and it works. Whether you are a super hardcore gamer that's like ranked in diamond tier in Counter-Strike or whatever you're playing on Xbox, or if you just like want to play a quick Lego game or something like that, and you're a little more cash, it works, whatever you want. Go to amazon.com/FireTV locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Moving along with the Locked On Vikings podcast, let's go to some of the day 3 guys. And boy, some of you are going to be real mad about some names I have not said yet, and I'm going to say during this part. And the first one, let's just get it out of the way, is Walter Nolan. I have him, okay, I shouldn't say day 3 because I have third rounders in this segment as well, but I wanted to talk about those 4 guys more. I have Walter Nolan as a third rounder. And the reason for, again, this is a scalding and scorching take, okay? The reason for that is, one, there have been legit reports of character concerns beyond just the like he's lazy thing. But if you like read a lot of the discourse around Walter Nolan, people will be like, yeah, he just plays lazy. Looks like he's not giving full effort. I'm not sure I buy that. And far be it from me to question the effort of a college football player. Like, I know what these guys go through, right? So to question that effort is like, it requires reporting to that effect. Unfortunately, we have that there is reporting to that effect. But even that is rumor, gossip, the kind of stuff I'm not going to base my evaluation on. And when I see those reps that I think are the ones that people are bothered by, I just see a slow get off. And that's more of a technique thing. That's a stance, an explosion. And, the things that help you get off the ball quickly, it's not all effort. It's got to be the muscle memory that you have trained, which might mean effort in practice, or it might just mean athleticism, or it might just mean he's got a hitch in his giddy up, and a good D-line coach can iron it out right away. But either way, it's an issue you have to address and decide how comfortable you are with. He also, to me, didn't love him against double teams at all. I saw him get sledded way too much against Georgia, in particular with NFL talent. Like that's okay. How do you do against NFL quality talent? Well, Georgia has NFL quality talent on the O-line out the wazoo, and they cooked him. I mean, they kicked the absolute crap out of him. I saw him take some really gnarly L's against LSU as well, against players that I see as 6th rounders. There's just too many lowlights, not a good get off. Not a strong player, but a lot of really great pass rushes. So if you're looking for, the designated pass rusher type, the third down, 3rd and 6, you can rotate him in and go be the guy. Hey, let's get some interior pass rush 3 tech. If you're looking for that, you might be interested in Walter Nolan. There's just a lot of stuff you have to wade through before you get to a satisfactory player. The next guy is a really interesting one in Shamar Turner. This guy's hard to make heads or tails of because of the way that A&M plays, and the talent around him at A&M sort of dominated and dictated the way that happened. That's Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton. That's like very likely 2 first-round edges on the team with him, or top 40 edges if you want to call it that, because Nick Scorton's like right on the bubble. But those 2 guys were absolutely awesome, and they had their very predefined roles, the way Texas A&M teaches it. But with those 2 first-round guys wreaking havoc and trying to get those guys, one-on-ones on the edge, they both would rush outside all the time. They were very rarely allowed to cut inside. That meant that Shamar Turner needed to do a little bit of dirty work. But like less than you think considering that, there were a lot of moments where Shamar Turner had a full-on 2-way go. That means that the entire pass rush is trying to essentially lure linemen away from him while he can go to either the left or the right of his blocker and know that he's not going to bump into any of his teammates. That's like a pretty high respect thing to do when you've got like some pretty intense talent elsewhere on that line who's now there doing the dirty work for you. And that happened like way more often than I would think. It's quite the endorsement, and he was able to make good on that stuff. He was disruptive. He was able to take on double teams. He's just a little bit, there's uncertainty. So it's a bit of a hard evaluation. And I think I'm more or less in line with consensus, putting him to, kind of calling him a third rounder. And the other guy that is a sneaky first round pick kind of guy that I just don't see it with is Darius Alexander. He's a Toledo guy, small school guy. When it comes to small school guys against small school competition, I just wanted to see more domination out of him. But I see at least enough athleticism where I think this guy can hack it in the NFL. But I don't see like an NFL superstar in the same way that I see with some other small school guys like Savon Revel, who I see as a first rounder. Even though, most of the tape that I'm watching is against, random jabronis that are not going to be anybody. So now we get to the true day threeers. Okay. Those are my third rounders. So just to get the landscape again, right? There's 2 guys that I think are worth it at 24, and then 7 guys that I think would be great on day 2. If the Vikings could get their hands on a good day 2 pick by trading down and grab any one of these 7 guys, I would be super, super, super happy. And even if like the value isn't quite right, like they take one of my guys that I think is a third rounder in the second rounder, I'll mention that I think it's a reach like twice, and then I'll probably just let it go because I'm not going to be that loud about that. Like I'd still be pretty happy. I do think it would be it's very important for the Vikings to get their hands on one of these dudes. In terms of the day 3 guys, I'll flash through them quick. The 2 South Carolina guys, here's the deal. If you want a true designated pass rushing defensive tackle, you don't take that guy in the first round, I don't think. Because how many snaps do you get out of that guy? Like you talk about path to playing time, right? There's no path to that guy becoming an every down player. You bring him in specifically for third down disruption, weighty downs, that kind of stuff, but he's going to be on the bench 60% of the time. And so there's a limit to how much you can invest in that, right? And I think that limit is in the 4th round. And in that 4th round, I love both the South Carolina defensive tackles. TJ Sanders and Tonka Hemingway, both for me, fill that designated pass rusher role in a way that is worth a 4th round pick. But when it comes to the run play, holding their spots, you get all kinds of liabilities and problems that would be pretty uncomfortable if I had to do that at the NFL level. But if I can just pin his ears back on a 3rd and 11 and say, go get the guy, then I love bringing him in as fresh legs on those situations. Throw a 4th round pick at it and have a really nice rotational weapon. In the 5th round, I put JJ Pegues. This is a very weird guy. I think he was just kind of like a good dirty work player next to a Walter Nolan at Ole Miss. And a good dirty work player, a roster makes. And so I'll put you in the 5th round. But I didn't see a lot of top end of like the top end athleticism you would want. There's also the funny thing everybody talks about JJ Pegues. He like played fullback a lot. And he actually got like some carries, just being like this big, like kind of the fridge like rumbling, bumbling big boy. Very fun, but obviously not going to be like central to your evaluation of him. For me, Pegues is destined to be like an okay depth player and make a bunch of 53s. In the 6th are guys I don't like so much. There's Joshua Farmer. He's out of Florida State. I just kind of never saw the vision, but I want to talk more about Omar Norman-Lott, who some people see as a first rounder. I have him all the way down in the 6th. This is another one that people are going to get kind of mad at me about. And I promise it's not just because I have a thing about Tennessee players, although the way Tennessee coaches their D-line is kind of part of this, not from a helmet scouting perspective, but just from a perspective of like when Tennessee does stunts, to me, like when I watch Tennessee do stunts and then I watch South Carolina do stunts, South Carolina's D-line, very, very well coached, or A&M's D-line, very, very well coached, whole bunch of good players that are going to go high in the draft on it. And when they do stunts, you can see that every player is very aware of the other players' jobs on that stunt, what they're supposed to do, where they're supposed to be, and how to stay out of each other's way. Tennessee, you get people bonking into each other all the time. And so I kind of say, okay, you have not been properly taught how to execute a stunt in the way that an NFL team wants to execute a stunt. So that's a rawness thing. Omar Norman-Lott, also very designated pass rusher. So there's immediately a ceiling there. He played 7 run snaps a game. That dude only went on the field on third downs. He did not start for his college team. I cannot spend more than a 4th round pick on a player that isn't a starter for his college team, no matter what his efficiency rating is, because he only comes in for 10 snaps a game. And as a pass rusher, I do like the juice that I see, and I actually put in my notes that like maybe there's a world where this guy becomes a power edge and like slims down a little bit, because I just do not see the ability to like get sand in the pants and anchor versus a down block and like really do the things, the dirty work that a D tackle needs to do in the run, do that really hard nose, face in the fan kind of stuff. I see a finessey pass rusher with a whole bunch of sizzle, not a lot of steak, who comes from a team that doesn't coach their players for the NFL. And good for Tennessee, right? Like that's what they do to go win because they're focused on winning games, not training guys for the NFL. But for me, covering an NFL team who's trying to figure that out, it's like, man, this is like I gotta reteach you entirely how to do some of these basic stuff. That sucks. And the last D tackle that I watched that I'm going to talk to you about today is in the tier that I named maybe if you move to a fullback. And I only have 2 players in it. And one of those players is Deon Walker. He's a D tackle out of Kentucky that had a ton of hype last year. And then he hurt his back. He gained a ton of weight and now he sucks. I don't know. I didn't bother watching last year because so much has changed for him that I feel like it's kind of a moot point because the things that have changed for him are permanent. Right? Like the fact that he has a different bodily build than he used to is like, okay, I'm going to have to change that. Like that's still a problem, even if it like maybe it explains some of the poor play, but he is like bad. Like he is getting killed up and down the field. Another guy I watched Georgia just line up and punch him in the mouth all day long. I ended up watching like 6 Georgia games doing this exercise specifically because I kind of wanted to see what all these guys did against the best of the best in college football. Georgia's got one of the best lines in college football. And that's part of why I ended up so high on those Georgia interior offensive linemen. I even, just thinking about it today, moved Jared Wilson up to that same tier. I have like Alfred Collins in. I really like that guy because I saw him line up against all these big name D tackles and punch them all in the face, including but not limited to Walter Nolan and Alfred Collins. So a lot of, a lot of that gets like iterative for me, but back to Deon Walker, just to wrap this out. He also has back problems, and that's just like in and of itself, even if his tape was really, really good, as soon as you see back problems, you're like, oh no, red flag, right? Because those don't go away. Neither does weight, at least not on its own, right? Like that has to be an active process to manage it. So there's a lot of assembly required, and the like potential within the diamond in the rough that you can see with Deon Walker, I also don't see. I don't like the way he uses his feet. I just don't like anything about him. I don't know. Move to fullback, and then maybe we can talk about you making a team. So I wouldn't draft Deon Walker at all. And I that's another one that might get me in trouble with people. But hey, those are all just my opinion. Okay, those are just where I'm at. If consensus is in a totally different place, so be it. I'm comfortable on my own island for my own reasons. I'm happy to defend that take. But a lot of people are going to disagree with me and see it a whole bunch of other ways. So I encourage you to look at a whole bunch of things. We're going to do the same thing for the defensive backs tomorrow. And then tomorrow night during the draft, I will be live on this YouTube channel, simulcast as well on Locked On Minnesota Sports with all the Minnesota football party guys. We'll be having a great time. We'll react to the pick or the trade or whatever happens live. So come pile on in and hang out. We'll be reacting to all of that. I will see you all so much tomorrow. We're going to spend a ton of time together and we're all going to love it and be happy and hug and cry and laugh and lose 10 pounds. And as always, Skull.